I took the diploma with hands that still smelled faintly of lemon soap and pencil shavings. The dean's palm was warm and dry. The stage lights washed everything in a steady noon. Around me people hooped, a proud ant whistled like a train, and phones rose like a garden of small black rectangles, each one catching a face full of tears. I looked for my people out of muscle memory. Left side bleachers 3 rows from the aisle, where Debbie would sit with her planner. Top middle where my brother Art preferred to perch in a ball cap even indoors. The aisle where my niece Callie would bounce, ponytail snapping like a metronome. They were not there. At 3:14 p.m. My sister had texted, "We're already halfway through the ribs, can you FaceTime later? Reception is spotty." She'd added a string of fireworks and a photo of the grill. The smoke in that picture looked like a gray hand waving goodbye. I adjusted the knot of my red scarf, bright as a cardinal under the black gown, and kept my smile steady for the camera. My mother taught that knot when I was 10, her fingers showing mine how to tuck the tail so it wouldn't flap. "For luck," she'd say. "For warmth," she'd correct. Both were true, and at 59 I needed both. Down the road on my sister's deck, someone squeezed a bottle of barbecue sauce until it squealed. I didn't return to school so much as begin again slowly, like learning to breathe after a long winter under snow. When I was 20, I applied to college because my mother insisted. Life insisted otherwise. A baby turned into 2. A marriage turned into an ex with a talent for leaving the mortgage like a dare on the kitchen table. I learned work schedules and double coupons. I could take a rotisserie chicken through 3 dinners and a soup, fix a leak with white tape and prayer, and leave the porch light on like a spell. The scarf waited in my drawer like a promise. On the nights when the house was overly quiet, I'd lift it and catch the ghost of gardenia, the powder my mother wore. The red looked too bold for the woman I'd let myself become, the woman who apologized before asking for anything. But the color felt like my mother's hand on my back. When my youngest moved out, I tied the scarf and walked to community college to sign up for English composition. "Computers?" the counselor asked kindly. "Sentences," I said. "I'm better with those." Work at the elementary school ended at 3:30. On aftercare days I clocked out at 5:30. I ate an apple in the car, blew chalk dust off my sleeves, and sat in rooms that still smelled like whiteboard cleaner. My classmates were 19, 21, 30 if they'd taken a wrong turn. They lent me highlighters and called my music vintage. I wrote essays in the bleachers while the janitor swept confetti into careful piles. I learned a spiral notebook can hold a life if you press hard enough. We had always been a close family, but closeness can mean convenient. When I began evening classes, the convenient version of me evaporated. I couldn't babysit on Wednesdays, couldn't do bulk shopping during their lunch breaks, couldn't swing by on Saturdays. At first they were proud in group texts. Then came jokes, gentle as a dog that just nips. Then plans without my name. "It's just a phase," Debbie said. "It's sweet you're keeping busy," Art said. "It's a degree," I said, smiling so my voice wouldn't be dangerous. "They give you a paper at the end." "Frame it," Debbie said. "Hang it over the toaster." I threaded my keys between my fingers when crossing the dark parking lot, the scarf warm at my throat. My mother had taught the keys and the posture and the walk. Back straight, eyes up like whatever waited was late and I was not. The spring before graduation, my family discovered a sudden religion of Sunday barbecues to keep everyone connected. "Swing by after class," Debbie said brightly, knowing I ended at 9. "Bring your famous potato salad," Art added, knowing I worked Saturdays for extra cash. I kept saying yes to the right things: Whitman argumentation, the lab where we tested claims like they could break. I said no to the wrong things: babysitting during exams, Could you just errands that siphoned an hour here, a chunk of courage there? It's not like you're becoming a doctor. Debbie half laughed when I refused to host the weekend before finals. It's just school. It's a degree, I said again. My niece called the week my cap and gown arrived. Auntie, I pitched a no-hitter. That's wonderful. We're doing a cookout Saturday to celebrate. You're coming, right? Saturday is my graduation, honey. Oh, she sighed, dramatic and 12. We already bought buns. Mom says those ceremonies are boring. They're boring to people who don't know the cost, I said, then softened. Bring me a burger after? Cold burgers are gross. I texted the family. Time, location, reception afterward. I ordered a small tray of cookies and carnations in my mother's favorite color. I fetched 3 extra folding chairs from the church closet, borrowed them for my tiny porch. We would sit and drink lemonade. We would laugh at how long it took me. We would call the years funny, not devouring. The replies rolled in like apologies that never quite apologize. Debbie. Shoot, the family grill out is at 4. Late dinner after? Art. Smokers on. Ribs don't wait. Face with tears of joy, proud of you. Send pics. Callie Esmeray's video. #family time. No one asked what I wanted. No one asked what it had cost. Graduation smelled like hairspray and fresh plastic. The auditorium hummed with hope. My scarf was a small sun under the gown. A kid ahead of me, tattooed vines snaking down his wrist, turned. You nervous? Terrified. My mom brought the loud aunties, he grinned. If you hear a banshee, that's us. Lucky, I said. I've got a barbecue. He laughed like I'd told a joke and I pretended I had. They called my name and my knees remembered walking. I shook a stranger's hand and took paper that felt briefly warm. I did not look at the space where my family would be. Outside, hydrangeas bobbed, fat and blue. Families arranged themselves like human bouquets. Mother and daughter cheek to cheek. Fathers clowning with caps, siblings clinging in practiced annoyance that was really love. Tina, from Tuesday's section, cried into her girlfriend's hair. Her girlfriend repeated, you did it, like a drum. I checked my phone. Debbie sent a photo. Glossy ribs stacked like a magazine ad. Look how perfect. So proud. Art sent video of a grate throwing sparks like confetti. Callie posted marshmallows on sticks. FaceTime. Debbie typed. We're sitting down. I called. The screen swung through sky, a metal spatula Debbie's chin. The camera jolted. Everyone yelled hello. I lifted the diploma. Wind tapped my tassel against my cheek. Yay! Debbie cried. Turn it. Is your name spelled right? It is, Deb. Wait, hold on, Art shouted. Putting burgers down. Smoke whooshed over the lens. Okay, smile. I smiled. Someone captured a screenshot. In the corner, Callie licked chocolate from her thumb without looking at the phone. A dog barked. Beer foamed. We wish we were there, Debbie said, already distracted. I wish you were too. We'll do something this week. Bring your ribbon, what do you call it? Hood. Right. The baby's fussy. Gotta run. Love you. The call ended in a clatter of voices and glass. For an extra second my own face hung on the black screen. Woman with a red scarf and a practiced smile, holding proof that a long hunger had been named. I carried the cookies and carnations home. The porch chairs waited like polite guests. I set the table, iced the tiny water bottles and watched them bob. I waited for the phone to ring again. It didn't. I pressed my face into the scarf and breathed gardenia that was probably memory. Heat rose inside me. The kind that banks itself and waits for the right fuel. Revenge, I've learned, is sometimes just a boundary drawn with a ruler instead of a shout. I took the cookies to Mr. Harlow, retired art teacher with a porch full of wind chimes. Graduation, he said, eyes crinkling. I knew you would. I did. Cookies. Only religiously. We laughed. I brought the carnations to the young mother on the second floor, balancing a toddler and groceries. She blinked like I'd handed her spring. Then I locked my door and sat at the table with my diploma and a yellow legal pad. At the top I wrote what I said yes to. My education. My time. My respect. My red scarf. I drew a line and wrote, what I will say no to. Last minute, could you just request tripping my plans? Jokes that make me small. Being the budget for other people's emergencies. Barbecues scheduled on top of my milestones. I texted the family. I graduated today, as you know. Thank you for the congratulations. Starting now, I won't be available for standing childcare or errands on class nights or study weekends. I won't host events scheduled over my calendar. I'm celebrating with school friends next Saturday. Please don't plan a barbecue and ask me to swing through. Love to you all. E. Hours later the replies arrived. Debbie. We didn't mean to hurt you. You know how the family is. Next week is Callie's playoffs. Could you do Friday? We'll keep Saturday open. Art. Don't be mad. Feeding a crowd is work. We toasted to you. Also, can you bring the air pump? Cornhole sagged. Callie. You're the smartest Auntie Whiteheart. My old self warmed hands over those embers. Then I pictured my mother tying the scarf and whispering, you don't owe your life to their convenience. Me? I'm not mad. I'm moving forward. See you when our calendars match on purpose. The kettle sang like relief. On the cork board by the bookstore door, a flyer fluttered. Back to School Fund, Women 40 Plus, Books and Bus Passes. Someone had drawn a heart beside bus. The tabs were nearly gone. I tore one and tucked it under my wallet's elastic. 2 nights later I met the coordinator. A social worker with a pen behind her ear and a voice you could sleep on. I'm starting a small scholarship, I said, more sure than I felt. For evening students choosing between a workbook and a bus pass. In my mother's name. Tell me about her, the coordinator said. I told her about the scarf and the knot and gardenia and the way my mother always said luck and warmth were the same fabric. We called it the Red Scarf Fund. I poured in the envelope from the coffee tin, the extra Saturday hours, a surprise payroll correction check. It wasn't much, it was a door. Doors matter. I bought a cheap charcoal grill on clearance, learned to light it without baptizing the begonias in lighter fluid, and invited classmates and good neighbors and Mr. Harlow. I set my diploma on the sideboard between cherries and a stack of paper plates. I tied the scarf around my ponytail because bravery likes company. The porch filled with folding chairs and stories about bad managers and good books. A playlist made the evening feel like a small street fair. Wind chimes clinked like spoons in glasses. When the first smoke exhaled that rich, earthy smell, I thought of Debbie's deck and felt only the ache of a shoe finally removed after rubbing for years. At dusk my phone buzzed. Debbie. We're nearby. Can we swing through for a hug? I pictured Debbie stepping onto my porch with apology-shaped words and a plan to tuck me back where they had kept me. The tongs were hot in my hand. The scarf slid cool against my neck. Me. Tonight is for school folks. Let's plan something when we can sit and talk. Typing dots. Silence. Wow. Okay. Tina spilled chips. Her girlfriend scooped them and kissed salt from her thumb. Mr. Harlow lifted a paper plate like a toast. To late bloomers, he said. We clinked cups of lemonade. The scarf warmed with my skin. The burgers tasted like honesty. If you're expecting a slam door and a speech, you'll be disappointed. Some people don't recognize apologies unless there's cake. Debbie came Thursday for tea. We felt excluded, she began. From my celebration? I asked. From your life. Everything is different now. Yes. We didn't mean to hurt you, she tried. As if meaning were water that made everything drinkable. I know. But intent isn't presence. I won't explain my milestones to a phone propped by a bowl of potato salad. She looked at the frame on the wall, the scarf draped over its corner. It's pretty, she said. It's our mother's. I wore it to sign-up day. To every final. I wore it when I said no. She folded into the chair as if the air had thinned. I'm sorry, she said finally. We made you small. You loved me best when I made potato salad. That's a kind of love. I'm choosing another kind. She snorted, sister language for fair. We drank tea. I talked about Whitman. She talked about Callie's curveball. At the door, she said, we're doing ribs Sunday. And we'll do them after your book group. Or not at all. Say yes if you want. Say no if you want. I'll show up either way. Yes, I said. But no FaceTime. Deal. Art took longer. He came to fix your screen door hinge and stood in front of the diploma pretending to read the molding. He grunted. That's a nice frame. Thank you. Silence did the work my words were tired of. I messed up, he said without turning. We should have been there. Yes. I don't like when you tell me I'm wrong. You were wrong, Art. You're allowed to fix it. He exhaled. The hinge finally sat right. Can I come sit in a class sometime? In the back like a parent at school night? Bring Callie. She can teach Whitman a fastball. He looked almost humble. He drank lemonade in 3 gulps like a man who'd been thirsty a while. I didn't punish them. I didn't rescind casseroles. I made a map of my life with signs. You are here, ring first, do not enter. I left textbooks in sight. I asked for times and endings. When jokes turned me into a prop, I touched the scarf with 2 fingers and said calmly, try again. They failed sometimes. They tried better often. The fun grew crookedly but grew. We bought bus passes that stitched triangles across town where futures began. We paid lab fees that would have barred a prerequisite. We delivered used textbooks soft-spined with someone else's courage. We kept receipts and stories. We kept the scarf draped over the fund office chair so women could rub its corner like a worry stone and keep going. In August I enrolled in contemporary poetry, not because I needed credits, my paper already hung on the wall, but because the brain is a living room that looks best with the light on. The professor, younger than my daughter, read a poem about hunger in a voice that warmed the room 2 degrees. She assigned, bring a symbol from your life and write around it. I brought the scarf and laid it on the desk. It glowed under fluorescent light like it had its own idea of daylight. My voice shook once, then steadied. After class, a girl with blue hair said, my grandma had one like that. She called it her home flag. So do I said. Debbie's next barbecue started late because I asked it to. In the backyard, citronella candles buzzed and the radio murmured Motown. Art wore an apron that said, kiss the cook, even though no one ever did. Callie tossed a ball against the fence between flips of corn. Tell us about your poem class, Debbie said, handing me a plate. We read about women who changed their weather, I smiled. Changing the weather, Art repeated as if trying on a new hat. Not bad. Aunt Marla, who sees sincerity as a challenge, tried a joke. You got that diploma just so you could tell us no, huh? I touched the scarf where it rested against my collarbone. No, I said. I got the diploma so my yes means something. The air shifted. Not a storm, just a breeze that moved the chimes. After we ate, Callie tugged my sleeve. Can I see it? The diploma? Tomorrow, I said. We'll put it on the table and read the fancy font out loud. You can roll your eyes at the Latin. Deal, she grinned. Also, will you help me with my essay? Coach says colleges like stories about adversity. I don't want to write about someone dying. That's sad. Can I write about a no-hitter? You can write about learning to aim your breath at a strike zone, I said. That's adversity enough. We sat on the steps with popsicles. My scarf felt like a small, steady sun. When I was young, I thought revenge meant handing back pain like a store gives change. Now I think revenge, if it's useful at all, is choosing a life where the old injury has nowhere to sit. I hung the diploma above my desk and draped the red scarf over the corner. Once a week I untie it and wear it to class or to the grocery or to my sister's kitchen when the ribs are done and the table is laid. It's a bright streak that says, "Remember, you belong to you." Sometimes people ask what it felt like walking off that stage with no one in the bleachers. I could tell them about the hydrangeas and the FaceTime smoke. I could tell them about the porch chairs that waited like polite guests, and the cookies that went to neighbors who actually showed up. I could tell them about the flyer on the corkboard that became bus passes and a fund with my mother's name. Instead, I tell them about a dragonfly that landed on my shoe as I sat alone after the ceremony. It stayed for a heartbeat, an unnecessary blessing that didn't owe me anything, and then it rose and went where it needed. Here's what I know. The red scarf circled my neck the night I signed up for night classes. It circled my neck when I walked into the auditorium and took the paper with my name. It circled my neck when I lifted tongs and said kindly no on a porch small enough to make bravery feel intimate. It will circle my neck when I attend the winter graduation to clap for a woman whose family scheduled a reunion over her cap and gown day but who came anyway. I'll bring cookies. I'll press the scarf into her hand for a second, just the corner enough to say you are warm. You are lucky. You belong. If you are 59 or 40 or 19 and too tired to keep the porch light on for people who don't come, tie something bright around your throat. Draw lines with a ruler. Ask your mother, alive or gone, to remind you that warmth and luck can be the same fabric. When someone's smoke blows over your picture, move 3 steps left and lift the frame again. Some loves learn to show up. Some don't. You don't have to give either the big bedroom. I graduated on a Saturday in June blue enough to make promises. No one came who shared my last name. Many came who shared my hunger. The ribs on Debbie's grill were, by all accounts, perfect. My life is not. It is mine. The scarf glows like a small red door. Every morning I walk through.